Hello Internet, this is Sophia. Laurie Alexander of The Transformed Wife has a new video out titled, Do I Hate Women? Apparently she gets accused fairly frequently of hating women, and frankly I am not in the least bit surprised. Of course, I myself am not going to be among those accusing her of hating women, but only for one reason, and that is that making that accusation would involve a higher degree of mind reading than what I'm prepared to do. However, I will say that the ideas that she advances are harmful, especially to women. And though she might not quite be to the same threshold as Fred Phelps was, someone whom, despite my lack of ability to read his mind, I wouldn't hesitate to say that he indeed was a hateful person, I still definitely can understand where people would get the idea that Laurie Alexander hates women. But of course, she says that she doesn't. But you'll get a kick out of who she says does hate women.
Well, I want to let you in on a secret. It's feminism that hates women.
Sorry about that. I must have heard things wrong. Let's listen again, and maybe this time we'll hear it right.
It's feminism that hates women.
Unbelievable. I heard her right the first time. She is saying that it is feminism. That's right, feminism, the radical notion that women are people, is what supposedly really hates women. And what is this really hateful thing that feminism teaches toward women?
They don't want women to bear children, get married, be homemakers, be feminine, love men.
Okay, stop there. While I am not going to say that there don't exist fringe feminists who don't want women to have these things, by extreme margin, the overwhelming majority of feminists don't have any problem with women having these things, and as a matter of fact, want women who want those things to have them. What feminism does object to is these things being imposed on women who don't want these things out of life, or want other things out of life, or for whom those things just don't fit.
I love women. I want women to be feminine.
And what if there's a woman for whom being feminine is extreme and excruciating torture? Then, if that's so, then if you want her to be feminine, you are wishing pure and excruciating torture upon her. And sorry, I may not be going as far as to accuse you of hating women, but don't kid yourself. If you would wish something that torturous on someone, that is not love. At most, you love women who fit your mold, and that is it.
He created two genders only, male and female. And no matter how much our culture wants to change that, it will never change.
No, Laurie Alexander, it is not our culture. It is science. You know, that thing that you don't believe in? There are documented cases of people being born with visible parts of both sexes. Which of those two genders that God created, supposedly, are those babies a part of? And we aren't yet talking about transgender people. Speaking of, I mentioned at the beginning of this response video that I'm not going to be among those accusing you of hating women because I can't read your mind. However, if this is a lead-in to a segment of you bashing transgender people, then that benefit of the doubt will be officially exhausted. But surely that's not what this is, because you're making this video in order to set the record straight that you are not hateful. Surely you wouldn't do something that blatantly hateful in a video that you are making specifically to put to rest ideas of you being hateful.
A man who becomes a woman after he's been dead 400 years, his DNA will show that he was a male, no matter what he's done to himself or how he's acted.
Unbelievable. A lead-in to a trans bashing segment is exactly what that was. What I said at the beginning of this response video. I may not be able to read your mind, but at this point, I have enough evidence from the coming out of your mouth that you are a hateful piece of Lori Alexander. And I know that there will be some people who say, what? Lori Alexander is the hateful one? Lori Alexander being the one who has coming out of her mouth when I'm the one who's using colorful language and then blotting it out with equally creative use of sound effects? Well, my response to that is very simple. I may be using some words that someone decided on a arbitrary basis are inappropriate words, but I am not the one who is saying things that will actually cause real harm to real people. You, Lori Alexander, you are. And up till a certain point, I can accept that you just don't know any better. However, bashing transgender people, that is something that you went out of your way to do.
No one can beat God. They're fighting God.
Fighting God? Well, I have news for you, Lori Alexander. Transgender people spend often many years before coming out and transitioning fighting against immutable traits of their personality, traits that if your God exists, then he would have to be the one who put those traits there to begin with. And why do we fight these immutable traits? In order to fit in the box that you and people like you arbitrarily assign to people based on ancient writings that have in no way been scientifically verified. If you would just stop spewing for a moment and sincerely listen to what kind of torture I put myself through, for example, in order to try to force myself to fit into the personality and social role of a man, if you have any conscience, which you may or may not have, I don't know, but if you have any conscience, your blood would run cold. That said, I'm not holding my breath, because people like you very seldom sincerely open your ears and listen to stories like mine. You hold to beliefs that you feel are so indisputably true that for some odd reason they're afraid of evidence that might prove them wrong.
a nation that values death and devalues life.
Big talk, Laurie Alexander, especially considering that your previous video was all about accusing governors of being tyrannical if they dare do exactly what the World Health Organization and the Centers of Disease Control say need to be done and need to be required if we are to stem the spread of COVID-19, a disease which is very damaging to life. You hypocrites. Back to my audience. Do you think that I am making this up? Well, I'm not. Here is a clip from that video to prove it.
Actually, I'm a lot more afraid of the left and the tyrannical nature of the governors than I am of this virus. This virus will pass.
Yes, the virus will pass. However, I would think that if you are so opposed to a culture that values death, you would want your governors to follow the recommendations of the Center of Disease Control and of the World Health Organization, that you wouldn't call them tyrannical for doing exactly that.
Millions of babies have been aborted.
Oh, abortion. That's what this is about.
They fight for birth control.
Okay, let's assume, for sake of argument, that we accept the idea that one starts being a individual person with personhood from the moment of conception. Let's just assume that for the sake of argument. I don't accept that in reality, but for sake of argument, let's grant that. What about contraceptions that work by preventing the egg from getting fertilized? What unborn blastula is getting destroyed there? There is none. How does this have anything to do with any cultural of death, even if we accept your idea about a person starting at conception?
They want women to be able to have promiscuous sex, have sex with whoever they want to have it with, just like men.
Laurie Alexander, Laurie Alexander, Laurie Alexander. Surely you know that the only way that men can be having promiscuous sex if women are not also having promiscuous sex is if those men are having promiscuous sex with other men. Does this mean that my impression that you don't approve of men having sex with other men is a misunderstanding? Somehow I doubt it. I seriously don't think that you approve of any men having sex with other men, because homophobia is a part of a package with people who spew backward religious fundamentalism like you do. But that clip of yours that I included, I had to include the part where you added those words, like men, in order to show what this is really about. Your opposition to birth control isn't about saving the lives of unborn blastulas. It is about preventing a woman from having the freedom of what to do with her own body. And when you take a position that women should not be allowed to have basic freedoms, then I don't have to read your mind in order to say with confidence that you, Laurie Alexander, are a hater of women. And it is a fact that Laurie Alexander does not believe that women should have basic freedoms, even the most essential freedom of a citizen. Laurie Alexander is clearly against women having even that, in her own words, here.
Everything feminism has fought for is a lie, including voting. The reason women fought to vote was because they didn't believe that men knew how to lead.
See, Laurie Alexander doesn't even believe that women should be allowed to vote. So, where would anybody get the idea that Laurie Alexander hates women? Very simple. They took things that Laurie Alexander says and they stated the obvious. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please hit the thumbs up button and leave your comment in the comments area below. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and that the bell icon is active so as to increase the chances of you receiving notifications when I add new videos to this channel in the future. Share this video both directly with your friends and on social media. And until next time, see ya!